Motion on the floor to enter into executive session to discuss employment history of a particular person. Invited in is Mr. Baril. And that's all I have.
In the cabinet.
In the cabinet.
Not at all.
Mr. Stiles, Mr. Hotelig, Mr. Massey. Second. All those in favor? Everyone, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. At this time, it is our public input on agenda and non-agenda items. I welcome any members of the audience to speak at this time.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Christy Fraunhofer, and I'm here to thank the board, the principal, everybody for supporting the International Club that just went to Italy and Lisbon. My son
Surprisingly.
went, and yeah, it was so cool. So at first, they were a little disappointed to get stuck in Lisbon, and then they were whisked off in a bus to a beautiful hotel, had a new travel agent, a guide through the city, and like hours later, my son sent me a picture holding a pineapple drink. So Lisbon went great. It was amazing. But Miss Case and the entire staff, I can't even begin to show our gratitude. She covered every base. She thought of every possible scenario that could go wrong. Some of it did, some of it didn't, but I can't believe when we put them on the bus that I wasn't nervous at all. I was just so excited for those kids. They saw everything there was to see in Italy. They ate everything, and they had the absolute best time ever. And the staff that went with them, they spent their own money to do extra excursions for the kids. And we saw pictures and videos every single day, so we know our kids were alive and having fun. It was amazing. I have never heard of a better trip for kids ever. So thank you so much for supporting it. Thank you for having an amazing staff. They looked after the kids like they were their own. So thank you so much, and please keep it coming because I have another child too. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Germany next year, right?
All right, Mr. Carmelo for the superintendent update.
Okay, thank you. So the superintendent update each meeting is on the reorganization, the Wine and Skill merger, reorganization, annexation, however you want to call it. So the real update is later on in the agenda. So the board approved a flyer of all the assurances that we've made. Really great stuff, things that we heard from their community that they wanted, the building to stay open, the building to stay K-8, our tax plan. The school choice one is the one that's still had a few people upset. We've gotten some emails in the last couple of weeks. And remember, we did current kindergarten through 8th, so really anybody that's in the school over there right now would maintain that school choice when they got to high school. The issue was the pre-K kids. So there is a pre-K classroom. The reason we didn't include pre-K in the beginning was pre-K is not mandatory, as you know, and so we didn't want to penalize kids who are 4-year-olds in Wine and Skill but just didn't decide to send their kids to pre-K or didn't go to a different, maybe went to a different pre-K. So the way we're going to address that is rather than say we're going to do it with current pre-K, we'll do our kindergarten through 8th grade, but starting in next year's school year. So if those pre-K kids go to kindergarten in Gardner-Dixon next year, or if any pre-K kid or kid who didn't go to pre-K goes to kindergarten next year, they will still be grandfathered in for the high school choice. I've said before, that far away from now, I don't anticipate a lot of kids will be choosing other schools at that point. But I think it's important for that community to hear that we're listening, and so I thank the board for considering it on tonight's agenda, and that's the only change that we're making, and so it'll be next year's kindergarten. And so I've already I told the few people that emailed me that it's coming on tonight's agenda, and I already got some thank yous for considering it, so I appreciate that. The other update is I think last time I talked about, we're going to have one more virtual community forum meeting. It was supposed to be Tuesday the 24th. I think I actually announced that last time, but that was premature. So the date has been changed. It's actually that Thursday. So it's the Thursday right before the vote. Our vote is Tuesday, March 31st. We're in the home stretch. We're less than 3 weeks away. And so on Thursday, March 26th, 5 days before that vote, we'll have our last community forum. It'll be virtual, and we hope to get as many people signed on as we had for that earlier virtual one during that snowstorm. We had a lot of great positive feedback from that meeting. And so it'll be a quick update from the consultants, and then it'll be, some questions and answers. We're thinking 6 to 7, total time, but hopefully there's a little bit of misinformation that's out there, and so we want to clear that up and then just highlight all the positive things that we think will come from this merger one last time. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, Mr. DeNovo with the financials.
So this is the first month that I was able to include projected revenues and expenses. It's fairly early, but it appears that everything's on track to break even by the end of the year. I've entered the purchase order cut-off date in the accounting system to be April 20th. An email will be sent out to the district informing everyone to have everything entered at this time. Users will not be able to enter any new POs unless given permission by Mr. Stiles or Mr. Hoteling. This gives us time to start deciding which purchase orders to close or to roll to the new fiscal year. And that is all I have to report.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Mr. Stiles, you're going to do our curriculum and instruction presentation?
Yes, sorry, I'm gonna stand up if that's all right. I told Mr. Mayo I would try to be done by 7, so.
I'm not promising that.
So thank you, I'm really excited to be presenting tonight. If you remember.
Do you have a wooden leg?
Not wooden, but I am limping a little bit, I'm sorry. So standing up will probably keep a little short, so if you remember, Mr. Carmelo spoke at the last meeting, talked about our assessment scores and our results. So I wanted to follow up with that and talk a little bit about our district goals and really the way that we're supporting those goals. There's just so much work that goes on in all of our schools. All of our principals and directors are really, true instructional leaders, and I think if you're in the buildings, you would really see that. Our staff is extremely dedicated, and I really wanted to start off with that because I have a lot of bullets and programs and all the different things that we do. But really, the most important thing that we do here is have really great people, and it starts with, our principals, our directors, our teachers, our support staff. But again, none of that could happen without the support of the board. Since my time in Troy, I just, when you see this list of all the different programs and resources that we have to support all of our students, that doesn't happen without the support of our board and our community when we consider our budget. So with that, I always want to start with our mission statement of the Troy School District, providing a strong educational and social foundation to graduate all of our students college and career ready. So what I wanted to do tonight is go through each of our 5 district goals and really kind of highlight the different areas and work that we do, kind of behind the scenes and every day to support those goals. So you've all seen these goals, but our first goal is increasing our proficiency rate in grades 3 through 8 for ELA and math. Looking for 25% of our students that scored at a level 1 to move to level 2, 3, and 4 the following year, and then 25% of our students that score a level 2 to improve and move to level 3 and level 4. So the different ways that we support that, that goal, it really starts with our curriculum review. Every 4 years we have a curriculum review cycle, making sure that our curriculum is aligned to state standards, next generation learning standards, and we've really done a lot of work preparing our students for the computer-based testing. So that's been happening over the last few years. This would be the first year that all of our students, grades 3 through 8, are taking their state assessments, computer-based. So again, not on here, but our technology department does a great job. I'll say we're one-to-one with our devices, but really we're beyond one-to-one with our devices. And the teachers are doing a lot of great work throughout the year, getting our students comfortable with taking those assessments, computer-based. And that can't happen without all the summer curriculum work that goes on. Really every year, looking at our needs, and looking at our student data, how can we make adjustments to our curriculum to continuously improve? Mr. Carmelo spoke about this before. Our elementary class sizes, the board supporting and keeping those class sizes small has a huge impact. I think any classroom, for the most part, you go in, is somewhere in the mid and upper teens. Very, very few classes have, no classes have 25 or 26 students at the elementary level. And again, that really is the support of the board with that. The instructional coaches that we have and we've committed to are just really, really impactful. I can really say firsthand, when I was the principal at Carroll Hill, the impact that those coaches have. I think all the principals would agree. The work that our instructional coaches are able to do. We have 2 at every elementary school. We have 3 at our middle school. They're working with the principals in terms of looking at student data and dissecting that, but really getting into classrooms, working closely with teachers, and it's just continuous professional development that's really embedded in the school. We also have 2 instructional technology coaches district-wide that do a really great job of, not just making sure that, we have the appropriate instructional software, but then supporting that software. You can invest and say that, you have this, we have iReady, we have all these different things, but how are they being utilized in the classroom? And the instructional coaches can really support that work. Again, I just mentioned iReady. That's something that's a little bit newer that we've been using. Has many different aspects that I think support our students in grades K through 8. One aspect is we give a screener fall, winter, and spring through iReady, which is computer-based. That really, supports our teachers to be able to say, what are the different standards and areas that students need to continue to improve. And then as students, again, take that assessment in the fall, they take it again in the winter, then in the spring, we can kind of track that growth and see where students are growing. Another aspect of iReady is it also can take that same information from that screener that they've used, and then there are instructional lessons that can support some of those skills that go beyond just what the teacher can do. So, for example, you're in a math classroom and you're working on multiplication as a whole class, but you have some students that may need some of those skills leading up to that. Some of those iReady lessons can kind of help and support that. On the other side, also, when you have a student that is excelling, it can continue to push them further beyond what they're doing in the classroom every day. So it has a lot of great work, and we're getting, again, I think, this Friday we have some continued key areas around iReady. Again, you've heard some of the principals during their building presentations talk about UFly, integrity. So it's 2 new Arphonics and phonemic awareness programs that we're using at the primary level that I think is getting a lot of great feedback. We've always been data-driven as a district, and again, I think every district would say that they're data-driven, but if you really look at the way our buildings, our teachers are really looking at data every day, we really take that serious and are able to go in there and know exactly what individual students need. So we're enhancing that with a few new platforms. We just started utilizing Tableau, which is something through NARIC, which really lets us take a look at our state assessment data and dig deeper into that. Principals, they've already been doing all of that work, but it's extremely time consuming. This now allows them to do that much faster, really can get down to, you can track cohort growth, you can really look at individual standards of where students or cohorts are struggling or are doing well. So that's going to be a really great tool. And then moving forward for next year, we're going to be adopting and purchasing a new data dashboard. So currently, all of our buildings have what we call MMI, Multiple Measure Index, and it's a great tool, but it's done through, for the most part, each building has Google Sheets that they're doing, This is going to be able to replace that, put all of our information in one place. So, principals are going to be able to say, give me the list of students that are chronically absent, are failing one or more courses, and have 3 or more referrals. Boom, here's all of those students. There's just so many different ways that we're going to be able to utilize that. So again, it's just going to be another tool for us to be able to support the buildings who are doing that work, but they're doing so much of that manually. This is going to be able to streamline that for us. I started talking about the professional development. I think that's something that anyone who works in Troy would say is we really support our staff through professional development. We are continuously working with Moss Flower for ELA, our Questar OC support, Eureka Math Squared support. And then I'm really excited, in November, we had a great PD day where we asked our staff to submit proposals to my office and lead sessions for their colleagues. Really had, I don't even know the number, I'm going to say over 60 or so staff members that presented. It was a really great day, so we decided to do that again for this Friday with our PD day. I think, Teresa, we have over 100 sessions, if I remember correctly. So we've got just a lot of great sessions, and there's so much great work that's happening in our schools and our classrooms for teachers to be able to be willing to share that with their colleagues. That's just been really, really good. So really excited for that. And then something that, again, looking forward for next year, we currently have a really great system to kind of track our curriculum maps. They're in a computer program, and it's been really great. But what we're, again, looking to do is kind of enhance that. So we're creating an internal staff webpage that's going to be around all curriculum instruction. So all of those curriculum maps that are on an outside source, we're going to be able to bring in to an inside source. And then in addition to that, you have different curriculum leaders and things that they might have a shared Google Drive, and there's kind of things in different places. Again, we're trying to bring all that to one page so that a new teacher can go on and say, okay, I'm a high school math teacher, I teach algebra, click, 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 boom, here's all the resources that I need. So I think that's, again, going to be a great thing. And then, again, lastly but not least, regarding this is the co-teaching model in some of our elementary classrooms. And Mr. Camillo talked a lot about this, just how impactful it's been. So District Goal 2, improving student engagement. So through improved student engagement and learning, development of citizenship values and use of behavioral interventions, our violations of our code of conduct will decline in each school by 5%. So there's just so much work that's going on that supports this goal. So I wanted to start with our Stronger Connections grant. So we currently have 196 staff mentors through that grant who are really mentoring approximately 1,000 students. So that's just giving 1,000 students in our district, just another adult in the building that can support their needs. The student mental health grant that we're continuing, again, just allows us to partner with some outside organizations to support our students. We do have a Tier 1 social emotional learning curriculum called Second Step. That's being done in kindergarten through 8th grade. The use of restorative practices, that's something that all of our schools have embraced and are continuing to get professional development on. And again, just the work that can do to help build relationships and repair relationships when situations happen has just been really great. Again, professional development, we've got professional support around classroom management, also trauma-sensitive practices in all of our schools. We also have a social emotional learning screener called SAVERS. We give that twice a year for our students in grades K through 8. So what that really does is, lets our support staff take a look and say, what are some different needs that our students may have. They can do, they can have some small groups, they can do lunch bunches, they can do all these different things to support students in that way. Again, data analysis, the schools do a lot of work looking at student data, and then that work can be supported by our social emotional development and learning committee when it's needed as well. And then, again, staffing. You know, the district has really committed to supporting our students in this area. And you see there, 15 social workers, 15 school counselors, seven school psychologists. Again, none of that would not, that would not be able to happen without the support of the board. And then our code of conduct committee, we're constantly reviewing every year our code of conduct. This year we're doing a full comprehensive review and really just making sure that code of conduct is meeting our district needs, meeting our students' needs, and just taking and looking at those adjustments that need to happen, making sure that we're including restorative practices in our code of conduct. So increasing our graduation rate to high school. So again, looking to increase by 3% each year until it exceeds 90%. And then also the number of students that are receiving our Regional Diploma with Distinction will increase by 5% each year. So not a bullet on here, but something that whenever you go to the high school, and I talked to Mr. Monk, the team is always looking to, think about ways that their programming and courses are supporting all our different students. So it really starts with that is, knowing the students, knowing their interests, knowing their needs, and looking at what are different programs that can support all of those needs and the different pathways that students may want to go. And again, that starts with the curriculum updates through summer curriculum writing. Our content area curriculum leaders really do a great job of, again, knowing what is needed in their content area. Is it possibly a new course? Is it looking at the different ways that students can get to their end goal? They do a really great job with that and making recommendations. Those data platforms that I talked about at the elementary and middle school level are also going to benefit the high school, same type of work that can be done there. So we're adding a diploma seal, and then we're also looking to add graduation pathways. So we currently have a seal of biliteracy that we have for our students. That's continuing to grow. For next year, we're looking to add the seal civic readiness, and then we're also looking to add, it's called the individual arts assessment pathway. So again, it's really trying to look at all the different students, what their interests are, and giving them those different pathways. We talk about this a lot, just our college level and AP offerings. Again, currently we have 27 college courses, 7 AP courses. Next year, I think I'm correct, Josh, we're adding 3 Hudson Valley courses and then another AP course as well. This year we started Project Lead the Way through RIT, which leads to 3 college courses. Our Career Discovery Exploration Internship Program is really, really great. I think it's a great opportunity for students to, as they're juniors and seniors, start thinking about those different directions they want to go. I think a lot of students get matched up and are really happy and are like, yeah, I could see myself doing this, but then there are some that say, you know what, I thought I wanted to get into nursing, but I can't say the looking for it, so clearly I can't get into nursing now. So it kind of goes both ways, but that's a great program, and Mr. Monk's done a really great job of extending that and getting more students involved in that program. And then, again, talking about the different ways that we're supporting students with those partnerships and trade unions. Again, we want to make sure that we have the path for the students who are looking to go to a 4-year college, a 2-year college, or directly into the workforce, and having those trade unions has been really great.
For the people that don't know, can you explain Project Lead the Way? That's engineering stuff, right?
So yes, Project Lead the Way is through RIT, engineering, pre-engineering courses and engineering courses. So again, probably should have put our technology wing on here, but the new tech wing that we're going to have is going to really allow us to expand on a lot of these different options. And again, kind of looking at what are those different students, what are their goals, and making sure that we're having programs to get the students to resolve their goals. Then our Smart Scholars program, that has, I think it's about 100 total students, 25 in each cohort. They're able to get, I think it's up to 31 Hudson Valley credits, and there's 4 different pathways that students can select, in that program. So again, just having those different programming options so that we're hoping to, really meet the needs of all of our students. And again, I think when students have those meetings with their guidance counselor and they're talking about different things, the high school does a really great job of saying, you know what, we really we're missing here. Like, can we bring something in? I think that's kind of where the new technology wing, we have the barber room coming. Like, that's just another option for students. So there's so many great things that are going on. So improving attendance, again, percentage of students who are chronically absent, we want to decrease that each building and district-wide by 2 percentage points each year for the next 5 years. So each school has an attendance improvement specialist. Again, the work that they're doing in the schools, I think if you were to ask all the principals, has really been extremely helpful. As you can see here, they're supporting and building relationships with students and families, really kind of talking with students and families about, what are the barriers that they're having, if they are having attendance issues. They're doing home visits, they're transporting students, they're doing a lot of reporting and preparing attendance reports for the building level and the classroom level. We have a district attendance data tracker that can really help provide regular monitoring of students and their attendance, so trying to catch them before they become chronically absent. And if you don't know, chronically absent is if you're absent 10% or more of the year, so a typical 180 day school year, that would be 18 absences. So clearly we don't want to wait until a student has 12 absences in January to get them. We want to really make sure that we're monitoring that throughout the year. All of the schools, have a lot of different incentives, either within the classroom or within buildings, and then, supporting attendance through our MTSS process as well. We're able to do different attendance intervention groups. There's just a lot of work that goes on regarding attendance. And something I put on here that I think has a really huge impact on attendance is, the after-school programs and extracurricular activities we have for students, those different things are motivation for students to make sure that they're coming to school. So, sometimes we think about, sports and clubs as being outside of the school day, which it is, but really it's an extension to help them, be successful in school and be in school as well. And then again, I mentioned on here just that Stronger Connections mentors. There's just so many ways that they're helping and supporting students. And then our last goal is improve equity and opportunities and outcomes. So you can see there, guided by the New York State Board of Regents framework on diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as SED's culturally responsive sustaining education framework. We want equity and opportunities and outcomes to be improved for all students throughout the district. So I wanted to put the restorative practices on there again. We're just doing continuous professional development on restorative practices and making sure that we have some strategies that are changing and looking at our school culture, engaging families to make sure they really are true partners with the school and home. Our district-wide equity committee, we met earlier this year, and the schools all gave an update on where they are, what's their equity goal this year, what are the different strategies they're using to help get to those goals. The district leadership team and the survey that we administer every year to families, to students, and to staff, we really take that serious and look at those answers, look at that information and see, how can we make sure that we're improving to support our families and support our students.
Mr. Stiles, I had a question on that recently. We cut that, and maybe Julie can answer it. We cut that down to 1 only now, right?
Yes.
We used to do it 3, and it was overload, and people were not answering it because it was too much. And we went 2, and now we just do 1.
Now we just do one that actually just came out, maybe
It's now,
a week
yeah.
ago. Yeah, open through beginning of April.
Thank you.
Again, we've talked about this a
Yeah,
little bit.
yep.
Again, the board supported us to add unified sports teams. So we just had our first season of unified bowling, who went undefeated.
Yeah.
6-0. And then for the spring, we are going to be in the process of having a unified basketball team as well.
Nice.
So we're really excited about that, giving those opportunities to students. And then our equity improvement cycles that all of our schools are doing. I have those, I'm not going to read all of these to you, but I have them on the next 3 slides. I think when you look at these goals here that all the schools have, you'll really see, the schools, they really take a look at their student data, and they really kind of take a look and say, how are the ways, and what are the ways that we need to improve? So that helps them set their focus and their goal. And then, what are those supporting strategies that they're using to meet those goals? I think every building in the district is always looking to improve in different ways, and equity is one of those ways that we're looking to improve. And really, none of that improvement could happen without the support of the board and Mr. Carmelo when he's going to give his budget presentation. All the numbers are great when we talk about the budget, but it all goes back to supporting all of this work here as well. I'll stop there, and thank you for your support. Are there any questions?
How much autonomy do you have in the code of conduct? Is there New York State guidelines you have to be within, follow, or is it sort of autonomy for the team?
There are clearly some guidelines
Yeah.
that have to happen, but there is definitely some level of autonomy if we're thinking about specifically consequences for actions. There's autonomy.
Okay.
But when you're talking about can you suspend a student X number of days, there are regulations around that. But the schools, again, I think do a really good job of kind of balancing, actions have consequences, but those consequences have to be, teaching moments,
Right.
because we're talking about, children, how can they learn from those and hopefully, not make those same mistakes. I think sometimes when, people talk about they want to see a decrease in suspensions or a decrease in referrals, clearly, yes, we want to see a decrease in suspensions, but we really want to see a decrease in those behaviors so that students are in school.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
So first, I'm so impressed with everything the high school has. I'm excited for mine to get to that age because there's so much going on. But I wanted to ask because I think it was just a happy accident at School 16, but last year they graduated the most successful class, and half of those kids were looped, which means they had the same teacher for 2 years, and that's been associated with higher test scores. And I don't know that it was organized that way, but the class that was looped from 2nd to 3rd grade and 3rd to 4th grade, they were our most successful class ever. So you spoke a lot about data, and I love that. But I wasn't sure if that was something you were looking at for the elementary school levels for the first 2 goals, because it worked really well.
Yeah, we have talked about looping. I can go back to when I was in Carroll Hill. We talked about looping as well, and it does happen in pockets here and there in certain schools. There are a lot of pros to it. There's probably also some cons to it. So I don't see us saying that moving forward we're going to do full looping, but I think we want to continuously look and say, if we are tracking that data, if it's having a great, a huge benefit, then we probably really should take a look at it and maybe do it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think in those instances, even at Dr. Ford's building, it's not everybody looping, but he saw, and I think all the principals would say, Dr. Ford saw a group that was working well together and decided, asked the teacher, and the teacher was on board to move on and do that. So I think Sabina, do you do any of that or no?
Well, we did something similar when we moved around some people and they went up a grade level and had similar students. They were mixed up, but it did have an good impact.
Yeah,
And it does happen in pockets.
good question.
Any other questions?
Nice job.
Great job,
Great
everybody.
job.
He did a very good job. Yes, Mr. Stiles, very good job.
You have to cut back the foul.
I can certainly walk better than he
Michael Lynch with his regular walk, he's always got that.
All right, well done, Mr. Stiles. So I talked about it last time, we used used to combine those two presentations, right? My first, or our first, like, budget kind of presentation, and then, you know, how are we gonna do that? Well, because of the, you know, the assessment report I gave last time, it was because it took so long for the state to unembargo, if that's a word. So hopefully next year, his presentation and the one I gave last time will be a little bit earlier in the school year. So we're back to now draft one. Mr. Hotelling's back from Houston, and we're ready to roll. So your group wasn't the only ones that got stranded because of the storm. Mr. Hotelling got stuck in Houston, Texas. Did you have as much fun as
Supposedly.
I did not have as much fun.
You didn't get a pineapple drink?
Great steak dinner, though.
Mr. Styles already read this, but I'm going to read it again. Troy School District will provide a strong educational and social foundation to graduate all students, college and career ready. All the stuff that Mr. Styles just talked about, right? That's what we have in mind every single day when we're making those decisions, when we're asking the board to support some of that stuff, right? And certainly when we're developing the budget, we have that in mind. We want to make sure every one of our students can reach their full potential and be successful. Some of these are repeats. I'm not going to talk through them, but I want them in this presentation so they can stand with the draft one. So that was the highlights from last time. A lot of great things going on. One of the things we're doing Friday morning, Mr. Styles mentioned over 100 presentations from our students or our own faculty and staff. You know, most professional development days are school districts bringing in outside people to help with things. So really, really impressive in November that our own teachers were doing it, and the feedback, Mr. Styles didn't really give himself credit, but the feedback that we got from him organizing that in November was so good, which is why we're doing it again in March, and now we've gotten you know, that many more presenters. But one of the things we're going to do in the morning of that Friday is kind of shout out some great things that are going on. And so some of this stuff will certainly be part of that presentation. So how do we keep it all going? You know, all the things that Mr. Styles has talked about, all the things that I talked about last time, and those are the highlights. How do we keep it going, and how do we keep it going in a fiscally responsible way? All right, this is the same slide as well. We always are using those two lenses. We want to give students everything they need to be successful, but we also want to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money and make sure we're always mindful of them as we go through this process. There's our tax cap history. We've been really proud of that, especially the last 10 years, which is what we were highlighting when we were talking about the merger of things. You know, there's, you know, from that 0 in 16, 17 all the way up. I think we say each time it's like less than 7% increase over that 10-year period. Total 7% increase. And that's the definition of fiscally responsible. And we're really, really proud of that because we're doing that, but also doing all the things that Mr. Styles just said, right? So we're finding ways to make sure we're making great use of all the money that we do have. There's the tax cap information from last time. The thing I want to highlight again is that bottom part. Right now, draft one is going to assume a 0% tax levy increase, which if the wine and skill vote goes through on March 31st, we will keep it 0. If that doesn't go through, that'll have to be a conversation that we have when we get our final budget. You know, what's that tax levy going to be? Last year we went 175. Our tax cap at that point was 257. We agreed on 175 after a little back and forth, right? That's some of the good conversations we'll have here at the board. I think we went between 1.5 and 199, and then we ended up at 175. This year, the max, the tax cap is 2.23, and so you know, we've had that same kind of conversation as we get to it. Again, if the vote goes through as a positive, then we'll keep it 0. Not only keep it 0 this year, we'll go -5 the following year, and then 4 straight zeros like our flyer says. Okay, so here's the new slides. And we got something different this year, if you remember our old slides. So these are all the revenues that we come in every district, and we said this too as part of those community forums for the wine and skill situation. Not almost, every district, it's state aid and it's the tax levy, right? So the first two revenue sources make up the bulk of what we're talking about here. And then I thought every other year we just give this column,
I thought it might make sense for the board and the community to see, give some context to those numbers. What do those numbers even mean? So our state aid is $91.5 million. That's a $100,000 increase over last year. Remember, we also had that $3.6 million come back from the small city outlay the year before. So that 100,000 is a little deceiving because it's really like a little over $3 million increase in total aid. Remember, not foundation aid, which we'll talk about in a moment. Our tax levy will keep the same again if the vote goes through, so that will be no change. It will still be 38.6. Pilots and other kinds of things is $4.375 million. Really pretty steady. That's only $100,000 more than last year. Tuitions, refunds, interest, a lot of miscellaneous things there. It's at $2.8 million, but again, you're looking at 91.5 in aid and almost 40 million in tax levies. That's almost 130 million of our, it is 130 million actually with 0.5 and 0.6, 130 million of our total budget just in those first two. So these other ones are small, but still worth putting on there. So 2.8 million, which is 200,000 more than last year, and that's some BOCES refunds that we got. The federal aid is 170,000. That's actually 60,000 less than last year. And then the appropriated fund balance is 4.5 million right now in draft one, which is 9. Last year was 3.6. It ranges between 3 and 5. Some people that have been on the board a long time, you'll remember when it was 9, right? It was 8.9 forever, right? And that's just the number that we put as revenue from our fund balance into the revenue section of the budget. Again, it ranges from 3 to 5, but 4.5 is what's in draft one. And then remember last year to close that gap at the end, we used a 1.5 reserve usage. And so we put it in there again this year, so it's no different, but it's the same 1.5. So those are all the revenues right there. And again, the bulk of them come from the taxpayers and state aid, which is, really the bulk from state aid, which is why when foundation aid is so low, it's so hard for a district like ours. I was just at our, I'll put it in the Friday report, but I was just at our small cities lobby day. Down in Albany, we go for the day, and the legislators come in and talk to us. So there wasn't a ton of information yet, but then right when it was over, the one House bills started getting released. So we'll have some more information for draft 2. There's our significant drivers of the expense increases over the years. Right now, what we've decided to do with the uncertainty in foundation aid and the uncertainty with the vote is just keep everything the same. We're just maintaining all staff and programs right now. You know already, but I'll say again, we meet with every principal and every director, and we get what they think would help their buildings or their departments help students be more successful, right? We make a list, we put them in different tiers, and we've done that already. We started meeting in January with all those administrators. But as far as draft 1 goes, none of those things are in there yet, right? And so we'll see. This is probably a year that I think people will be, they didn't make frivolous requests. They really need those things and want them, but I think this might be a year of just maintaining staff and programs might be the way to go. There is one new thing in there, and that's the after-school program. Mr. Stiles referenced more than once the Stronger Connections grant in his presentation. It's been a great grant for us. It's allowed, as he said, over 1,000 students to get mentored, and that's really mentored. Every week, there's a set number of times they have to meet, and minutes that are on there. It's really been a great thing, but it ends this year, right? So it ends in October. Yeah. So we got to figure out another way to do that. One of the things we paid for out of that Stronger Connections grant was that great after-school programming that we had at the elementary level with all the kids first and grind time and all those after-school sports and that we're doing. So in talking to people, those things are still super positive and really popular. And Mr. Stiles is right. They're after the school day, but sometimes those are the things that are getting kids to come to school and feel connected to school and feel engaged in school. So we've, actually the Stronger Connections is about $1 million, right? But, trimming some of it, and so that 600,000 is 600,000 that would have been in Stronger Connections, but now is added more draft on. The other one's salary increases, so we just settled on a few, well, actually, every contract unit over the last 2 years, but 3 of them were last year, so those salary increases are now those built-in increases. Benefits and insurance, that's going up in every career, every organization, I think. Transportation is a big one, and you saw the Friday report last week. Did we already put that out?
Yes, it'll be opening next week.
The RFP is out for a company, so that might even affect that a little bit more, right?
I don't know.
So he built in that. Now remember, the good thing about transportation, we have to pay that, but the aid we get back on transportation is really great. So it's still in that 90% range, high 80s, 90%. So when you have to spend more on transportation, you end up getting it back next year once you can get it out there first. Liability insurance increase and some special ed placements. You know, we were talking about that actually the last couple of days. I think part of that is a little bit of COVID remnants. The younger kids, the kids coming into kindergarten, coming into pre-K, and that, you know, need special ed supports that, unlike that we've ever seen before, and that's really where the increase is. So that's really the drivers of the increase. But right now the budget has all the things that you know we have in the buildings, all the staff. No, you know, we're not talking about any layoffs, we're not talking about any real cuts to things. Just you know, making sure we're keeping an eye on it. So there's the first spot, draft one. Our current budget is $142,368.20. So again, $130 million of that is taxpayers and aid, like we talked about. The revenues are coming in a little bit short, $143,583,127. The expenditures, including all those increases from this page, give us $144,998,434. So, you know, deficit is $1,415,307. I was going to say in words a very manageable deficit, but I thought it might be important to just have that right on the slide because that's, I mean, listen, we don't want to have any deficit, but that's going to be an easy deficit. That's one that if we end in the budget development process and the state gives no more money and the Winneskill vote goes through, so we're keeping it at 0% tax levy increase, and we end up with that, we'll just grab more reserves because we'll have so much money coming in. If the thing goes through, doesn't go through, the vote doesn't go through, and the state doesn't give us any more money, then we'll have to talk about what that tax levy. So the way, how are we going to cover that deficit? Well, those three things, and the same three we've been talking about, right? So the attrition plan, we're still doing that. We've done it all year long. There were things that we had to replace, but if we didn't have to, we didn't. And so we were able to save some money this year on, I would say, double-digit positions as people left throughout the year, and we didn't have to replace them. So that's continuing to happen. Part of also the 1.4 is we had a dozen or so retirements, right? This year, something like that. So even if we have to replace all 12 of those, the difference called breakage of someone who's retiring at step 25 and coming in at step 1 or 2 or early step, you get that savings from each of those. So that'll cut that down several $100,000. We'll give you a number for that for draft 2. Again, the attrition plan. So then the tax levy. If we said we wanted to go, for every 1% we go, it's about $380, right? So again, if we're at 1.4 and the vote doesn't go through, and we say, all right, how about if we're talking about 1%? Well, it's already, 380 already takes that down to $1 million. So just combining these things, and then and then again, the reserve usage. We have money in those reserves that we can grab if we need to grab it to close that gap. And so that is how we'll. That's why I wrote very manageable deficit. It might seem like a lot. I think for the Winneskill School District that would be a lot. That's one that we can take care of. So we'll still be advocating So you'll see this slide here. So we're waiting for that vote. Again, we're less than 3 weeks away. It's really 2 paths forward. If that vote goes down somehow, at our next budget meeting, we'll have to decide how much tax levy, how much reserve usage, and then we'll figure it out once we hit draft 2 and put in the retirements and get the real number that will be short still at that point. We'll continue our advocacy, continue to monitor the state budget process. So the budget, One House budget bills are out. So the executive budget comes out in January. That's the one we're going by right now. Both the Senate and the Assembly have put their bills out. Both of those groups, so we haven't reviewed the whole thing yet, but the main foundation aid piece has been out there. It's easy to see that. We'll be reading that stuff in the next, this week and next, and get it ready for draft 2. But both the Senate and Assembly from the state have made that 1% 2%. Right? We talked about that a little bit when we were talking about the executive budget. I think she put it as one on purpose so that they could do that, but they did both do it. So, and there were some other things. They added some extra money. We didn't really talk about that yet. I don't know if you saw it yet, but they gave a little more weight to ENLs, and a little more weight to homeless, and a little more weight to other poverty issues. So sometimes that helps us and sometimes it doesn't. Depends on how they calculate the formula. But we'll look at all that. But the 1% to 2% is in both the Senate and the Assembly. So, it doesn't mean it's going to be in the final, but at least it means that they're going to be fighting for the same thing we want. So another whole percent is 640 or something like that, right? So 640,000, right? If that 1% goes to 2, that's already under 800,000, right? So again, that's why I'm saying it's manageable. I think we're going to be in a good space as far as the final one goes. So we'll do all that and calculate the retirements in and any other changes that happen from now to then. Sometimes there's a little bit of tweaking here and there, and we'll get you a better number on draft 2 on the 25th, which will have a smaller deficit at that time, and then we'll only be 1 week away. I think Mary cannot wait for that day. Last thing on there, and somebody that's been on the board for a while will know what I'm talking about. For the others, I'll explain a little bit now, and then we'll have a full slide on it next time if you say it's okay. So we think it's also time to start another capital reserve. So remember what a capital reserve is, or I'll tell you if you don't know. When you do a capital project, and we're at the end of our big one, right, with the tech wing that Mr. Stiles mentioned, and if you come by it, man, it's amazing every day. I think it's more and more gets done. There's a local share that we always take care of. Now we take care of it sometimes with a transfer to capital or with a capital reserve. So capital reserve is like a savings account that the board would establish. And then at the end of the year, if we have $1 million left over at the end of the year where we're under budgeted, we can put that in the capital reserve, right? So you give it a maximum when you do the official resolution on the capital reserve. The last time we did it for our big project, it was 4.6, I think, right? 4.5?
The reserve itself?
Yeah.
It was 5.
Yeah, I remember 5.
The reserve was $5 million, right? So $5 million at that point, you get about a $50 million project, which is where we were, right? And so the other great thing about the vote at the Winesville situation that we don't talk about enough anymore is our building aid ratio was to 98%. And if we put $5 billion in now at that number, $2 million in the reserve, this is a $100 million project. $2 million only, right? So you can figure it out. But we think it's time to do that, right? And so again, I'll give you a little more detail next time. You can tell me okay, and that goes part of the actual May vote, right?
That's a separate resolution.
Separate resolution. That, again, it doesn't cost the taxpayers anything. It's just establishing a savings account that will cover the local share in a future capital project. At 98% building aid ratio, if this vote goes through, and that 98% lasts for 10 years, you don't have to have the projects done in 10 years. You have to have the projects voted on, right? So we would anticipate, with the board's support, that
we would do one almost immediately, and then a few years down the road, and another few years. So I think we probably could get three major capital projects for, I mean, I don't even want to say it out loud.
Yes.
For free. I mean, $300 million. That's the number we were talking about today. $300 million for all our buildings, including the Gardner Dickinson building. Make them all as state-of-the-art as that tech wing is going up right now. Every one of our buildings could be that for free to the taxpayer. Right? And it's really insane. So that capital reserve will help us do that. All right? So we'll get more information on that next time. I'm seeing nods, so I think that's a go-ahead.
Yes.
And I don't think Mr. Stiles ended with that slide, so I'll end with that slide because that's what we do around there. Thank you very much. Oh, questions?
Great job.
Yes, sir.
You said in the highlights, PS2 is no longer designated as a receivership school.
Yeah.
Does that have an impact on funding that we would have gotten as a
Yeah.
receivership school?
Yeah. You get a few $100,000 every year for a receivership school. We don't get that anymore.
Okay.
Good riddance.
We'll be okay. It's better than not having a designation.
Yeah.
Because we succeeded. Okay.
In the federal aid Medicaid cuts, are those for specific programs or?
No, it's really been a longer-term trend in our Medicaid reimbursement. So Medicaid in schools is complicated. We've had conversations with Mrs. Fitzgerald and Nicole Davin, who does our submissions, and the BOCES, who helps us with them. You know, if you don't get a script back or if a parent doesn't sign off, you don't get any reimbursement. So it's really not, you know, a cash cow, if you will. It's a pretty low number, but we work all the time to try to get those sign-offs and those scripts and have them timely for the Medicaid reimbursements. It's just we've gotten less and less in terms of reimbursements, and the state takes 50% of our reimbursement as well. That reduction is more than just that, though. Medicaid reimbursement for student services has gone down. We also had what were called qualified school construction bonds about 12 or 13 years ago. Those are coming to an end, and there was a federal subsidy as part of that, which paid our interest share on those bonds. So that's coming to an end. It kind of like weans itself down. This is the last year of the bond reimbursement from the feds. So that's also kind of part of that as well.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice job, John. Motion on the floor for approval of minutes from February 25th, 2026. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Superintendent recommendation, human resources, staff matters, unclassified and classified. Under unclassified, motion on the floor for consent agenda items 1 through 11. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Under classified, motion on the floor for consent agenda items 1 through 7. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Under superintendent recommendations, programs, motion on the floor for consent agenda items 1 and 2. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Under superintendent recommendations, business finance, motion on the floor for consent agenda items 1 and 2. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Under board resolutions, motion on the floor for consent agenda items 1 through 3. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? District announcements, all future Board of Ed meetings will be held here at 6 p.m. On March 25th, we will have our Troy High principal presentation and our draft 2 of our budget discussions. On April 15th, we will have our budget discussion draft 3 if needed, or we will adopt the budget. On April 21st, we will have our Troy Community School principal presentation or adopt a budget if necessary. All right, so for our Troy Triumphs this week, School 14 celebrates students' dedication to attendance. We are hosting a farewell to winter attendance party policy. Students with one or fewer absences or tardies will enjoy a festive session of cookies, hot cocoa, and crafts. We've also launched a school-wide March Madness competition where classes go head-to-head to achieve the most days with 100% attendance. With a pizza party on the line, these incentives are fostering a vibrant sense of school spirit and keeping our students motivated to show up and succeed every day. School 18's Sabrina Duravage was featured today as our WNYT top teacher. Her segment aired today. It's available on News Channel 13's website, and I believe we have it here as well that we could send around. Troy Middle School hosted Pete the Cat's author Eric Litwin for our 7th graders last week. It was a great presentation that emphasized writing, literacy, and entrepreneurship. Coming up on Friday, as discussed, we are hosting a district professional development day. Our staff are leading more than 100 sessions for their colleagues on a wide range of topics, and our Wine and School staff and teachers are also participating. Several boys and girls basketball players received Colonial Council honors following the conclusion of the Section 2 tournament. From the girls team, freshman Amaya Harris was named Colonial Council MVP. Kiana Tiernan was named a first-team All-Star, and Addie Harkin, Maya Magneto, and Gabby Hansen all earned honorable mentions. Nice job, ladies. On the boys' side, seniors Jordan Hood and Kane Bien were named first-team All-Stars, and Jurdius Green, Zanio,
Your Royal Brothers.
yeah, the Royal Brothers, all earned honorable mentions as well. Anything else for David? Sure.
School 16 won at regionals and is going to states.
Yes, so honestly, the mine, Troy High School had a team and School 16 had a team, they're both going to states, yes, excellent. That'll be on Friday mornings,
Very nice.
And I think I saw, didn't our high school football coach get Coach of the Year for the division?
Oh,
So that's a huge honor.
very nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's it? Why so late?
I saw it on the news.
Yeah, I just saw somebody posted it on Facebook.
Very cool.
Very
Didn't know
nice.
that. Yeah.
All right, motion on the floor to adjourn our meeting. All those in favor? Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.